If 40 Smith & Wesson had a greatest defender, it would be my dad. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. I am your host, the average 40 caliber's biggest defender in the flesh and blood video enjoyer that your mom says that we have at home. Thanks for watching. Guys, the purpose of today's video is I'm going to be introducing my dad to you guys, and we're going to be discussing his experience in pedigree. Pedigree has entered the chat with 40 caliber, 40 Smith & Wesson specifically, and yeah. So without further ado, say hi, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Dad.
Do you want to tell him about your career and all the? I'll let you tell him. You tell him all the stuff
Tell him all the stuff.
about your career and your experience.
15 years law enforcement.
Here.
Did private security. I don't want to know that thing. It's a pedigree. Pedigree don't matter.
It does to them.
No, they don't care.
There's some guy right now that's going to meme and say you have no pedigree.
That's fine. That's
We'll,
okay.
we'll tell
with
him
me.
about your experience.
Anyhow, I was in law enforcement back in the days when the FBI did their big studies on what the best bullet you could carry would be. And that
What
bullet,
did they determine?
That was the 40 caliber.
Oh yeah.
So 40 caliber was the way to go in 1990ish.
All the high blood pressure and high stress has entered. All the FUDs have entered the chat. They're here with you.
Good.
You're
good.
gonna have fans.
Welcome. Everybody's welcome here.
Well, you're gonna have fans.
So,
You're gonna have
I'm
guys that
sure.
are like, see, this guy gets it.
But the thing is, though, as they know, if you can't handle it big, then you better just go away. Because 40's going to have that recoilish.
recoilish.
So, recoilish.
3
Yeah.
inches is a magnum.
That's all that matters. That's what she said.
All right. Well, tell him your career.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
I thought we already did that.
no, tell him about your law enforcement background and tell him about what you do and guns that you carried for duty. Yeah.
Guns I carried was SIG 9mm 5906. I actually carried a Taurus, like the generic Beretta 92 at one time when
For
I
duty?
started. For duty when I first started back in the day, because I was poor peasant like I am today. But
So
yeah,
you carried the
so-
SIG. What was the first one?
No, I didn't carry SIG. It's the Smith & Wesson.
Oh, Smith & Wesson.
Yep. And then from Smith we went to Glocks, Glock 17s or Glock 19, depending on your position. So, and then I also carried the 40, Glock 40.
Which one? Which model?
The 20, well, I carried 22, 27, 23. I carried
Which
them
one?
all.
So for work, which one would you carry for work?
For work, I carried the Glock 22.
Okay.
So off duty, I carried the 27.
So you just kept the whole family.
Of course.
So you carried the 22 for work, probably what, the Gen 3 or something or at that point?
Well, it was probably pretty close to like a Gen 1 or 2.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you carried, what was the weapon you carried the most during your time as a law enforcement officer?
Glock 17.
Glock 17? Okay. Now, for the transition, because you were a law enforcement officer for 16 years, and then now you do private security for churches and stuff like that. So during your time in uniform for duty purposes, what was your best performance and which gun did you enjoy carrying the most and why?
Wow. I don't know. The Smith & Wesson 5906 was pretty nice because if you dropped the magazine out, that gun wouldn't shoot even if it was chambered. Then if you did have it, single action and double action, if you had it on single, you're going to be doing better, but you could always do the decocker and, drop it and stuff. So it would go back to double action. But for dependability and for everything, you can't beat a Glock.
Which one specifically? If you had to choose between the 22 and the 17, which one? Because I think this is important for them.
Today, with the modern ammunitions and things that you get, like, whatever, you name the round. In the recoil principle, I think, I just would stick with the 9mm.
You got a Hornady and an HST is what they're saying.
Obviously, again, firing the recoil with a 40 is going to be bad. It's really bad in the Glock 27. So
that gun's bad. That's a trash gun, in my opinion. I know. In my opinion, the Glock 27 is a trash.
Whatever gun you got is the best gun in the world at that point in time. So having one is better than not having one, son.
I mean, yeah, but we're talking about adults, that
Adults,
are going to make the right decision.
Oh my
So if
lord!
these guys, so you're saying, if you had a Glock 22 and a Glock 17, whatever gen that you want in front of you right now, you're saying you're picking the 17.
If we're going to war, and I know I'm going to war, I'm probably gonna take the Glock 22 because it's gonna have a little bit more whoopee to it because I can handle the recoil. But it's nice to have the Glock 17 because you can have 5 million extra rounds.
Well, you have to pick.
Then, what? We're in America. We don't have to.
You have to pick.
I have to pick.
You're riding the fence right now.
Oh my word! I'm riding the fence. See, because now you got me wanting to go back to the 17 just for the ammo. Because today we're in a modern world. You're talking. I don't know if you can see the modern world. You got multiple targets. You're not normally just dealing with one bad guy, depending on what environment you're dealing with. But if something bad happens, good chance you're gonna have more than one bad person there, and you may need more ammo than what you can get with the Glock 22.
Who's going to perform better? Same shooter. They have a Glock 17 for one stage of a USPSA run, and then they have a Glock 22.
Glock 17.
Correct. The same shooter will perform better with a 9mm with the same level of training.
Right.
Faster follow-up shots. Now, you can enter the power factor, but it's a handgun. So the terminal velocity and the ballistics that you get, the capability out of a 40, is not significant enough because you're still shooting handguns that it doesn't matter, right? Even if you were shooting a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, it's still a handgun, even though that thing is spicy.
It's a lot of handguns.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Yeah, you're going to shoot them once in that case, but I think if the argument of 40 for me is dead. If I'm going to, for me, it'd be like a 19X. For me, it'd be like a 19X, right? If you were to put a Glock 22 and a Glock 19X, Glock 45, or Glock 47 on a table, compared to the competition, there's no time in my life, now that I would take a 40. Now, have I owned a Glock 23? Yes, because my dad carried a Glock 22 for work and a Glock 23 for concealed carry. So what did I want growing up? Oh, 40 must be, and all back in the day, what would this be, like 13 years ago, 14 years ago, it was, well, it's not, you get more capacity than a what?
Than a 40 cal, Glock 22.
Or 45. You get more capacity than a 45.
I carry a 45 because there isn't a 46. Oh my word!
I can't wait.
I hate that saying.
So back in the day, it was, hey, well, you get more rounds than a 45, but it's not a wimpy 9mm. But then people realized that 9mm is the way, both for ammo cost, for reliability, or not, yeah, even reliability, because a 40 beats itself up due to the snappy nature of the recoiling mechanism. It will beat itself up. So a Glock 22, if you had 100 officers with 100 Glock 22s and 100 officers with 100 Glock 17s, and they shot the same amount of rounds, the Glock 22s are going to come in more for maintenance than the 17s. The recoil springs are going to need changed out. They're going to have more issues as well. And that's what I've doing this and getting guys and ranges feedback. I've seen a lot of guys hate the 40 for that reason. Just for they built the 40 guns on 9mm frame, and they break faster. And rest in peace, James Yeager used to talk a ton about that issue. He hated the 40. That's funny, but. What else? So give him.
I don't know. I miss James's honesty sometimes. So that's you brought him into this.
Yeah. Talk to him about what was some of the, I guess, higher stress scenarios where you had to depend on your handgun, whether it be the Glock 17 or Glock 22, and what
Remington 870.
Or
if we're talking high stress, we're bringing out the shotgun.
So in those days, it was was it buckshot or slugs?
Yes. So
which one would you?
Primarily, it's going to be a buckshot.
Buckshot. So in those scenarios, if you had to give some advice, right? Because you are my dad, and this is your advice for officers or Minutemen watching this, and they got their 17, a Glock 17 or their Glock 22, whatever they choose to use, doesn't matter. what would be your advice for that would have helped you through those scenarios? I mean, 16 years on the road, you've seen it. You've seen it all.
Well, my advice is you go home to your family. So you do what you gotta do in order to get there. Whether that's using whatever tool you have available. Hopefully, you're an agency that's got lots of tools, but not everybody does. Sometimes you or a poor department that can't supply the stuff. But yeah, hopefully you get the best training and stuff, and you do extra practice besides like the quarter qualifications or whatever. Get out there and you spend some time, so that way when you are in a stressful situation, you're able to handle it. So
What is your opinion on officers that only do their mandatory qualification shooting and don't train on their own?
I think I just went over that. Yeah, you need to train more. Train more. And we could all use, even the most skilled person can get more abilities. You can learn something every day. Realize how dumb we are.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing. If you're an officer or soldier, whatever, all you guys, we're all the same, right? Whether you're a Minuteman, a soldier, a law enforcement officer. When I say Minuteman, you guys know what I mean. Pro freedom, pro America person. If you have battle buddies or you're that guy that you shoot your qualification once or twice or 3 times a year, whatever, and that's all you're doing. You're not dry firing. You're not going to USPSA matches or some sort of tactical match or whatever you want in your local area and getting on practice score. It's not going to be you. It's not going to be you that dies. It could be that you don't go home to your family, but what's going to happen is the guy next to you is going to get freaking smoked. And then it's going to come down to your inability to cover them, right? Did you ever have an officer that you worked with that you knew they were incompetent?
No comment.
So yes, probably. Um, what? So if you were put on a shift with them, and you were run into a call, a felony call, you knew that guns were going to be drawn the second you got on scene, and you knew they were the responding officer with you. Does it add additional stressors, and in what way? I guess what would your advice be to them to get away from that? And I don't know if you have any
You don't really
accounts.
you don't really have a choice. Just another situation you got to deal with. You go to the call with whoever you go to the call with, and hopefully you have competent enough people that can handle it. And if they don't, they just do their best that they can. And a lot of times people are brand new. They don't know. They've never been in a situation. So life is a learning experience, and they'll just get better hopefully. And if not, you try to stay away from them and avoid them as much as you can.
Um, did you, when you were a full-time law enforcement officer, would you refer to cops as gun guys or just people that happen to have to carry a gun for work? The vast
Yeah,
majority.
you have all of them. There's guys that yeah are not gun people, and then you have gun enthusiasts that have all kinds of nice toys and equipment.
Because in the army, it's like most of the people are not gun guys. You wouldn't think that they carry a rifle or a handgun for work. They go home and they're focused on the gym or going to the club or you getting tattoos or you name it. But they wouldn't be knowledgeable. You wouldn't ask them how to build out an AK or how to build out a shotgun or what precision rifle are they going to build out. It would be like the sentiment would be for me, oh, I just focus on my M9 qual, or I just focus on my M17 qual now, or my M4A1, or the Six Spear, and they don't know anything outside of that. So, did you ever run into that where it's just people that didn't, they were kind of not knowledgeable in the space?
Well, if I was looking for knowledge, there were definitely people with lots of knowledge that I could go to for advice. And the ones that don't know, you just don't worry about that. You don't discuss that topic with them. Everybody's different in this world, and we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. So, but yeah, there's definitely if I needed something, know how to zero a rifle or questions about different optics or whatever. Yeah, there was people you could go to because they were kind of guys or gals.
Yeah. If you had to give advice to somebody watching this right now, whether they're getting into their patrol vehicle and they're listening to this kind of passively as they're going to work, or they're driving to the station, or they're a soldier and they're going on patrol, right? They're an MP or they're an infantryman. If you had to give one piece of advice for like whether it be tactically or gear setup? What would it be?
Well, I probably have two. One, if that little voice is saying something to you inside, if you know the sixth sense, listen to it and don't be complacent. So be ready for the unexpected.
Did you ever have a call where you knew this guy is a bad guy, and think like the sixth sense told you don't engage or don't pull him over, or maybe the sixth sense told you that something was about to go down?
Yeah, not necessarily that. I mean, if it was a known bad guy, yeah, you knew. I mean, if we got sent to call with certain individuals, we knew we were gonna fight. At least until they got to the jail, and then they, hey, Bill, how you been? And then when they get to the correction officers, but my uniform be all tore up because we were just fighting them in the streets. But get them inside in their different world. So, but yeah.
And then complacency. How would you go about avoiding complacency? And when in your life and career have you seen people get complacent? In what aspects?
Oh, you see it every day in all over the variety of different situations, all the different environments or encounters that we come into in our personal lives. We know the person that is the life of the party and the person that people avoid. So I mean, just try to motivate yourself when those days when you don't want to get out of bed or you don't want to do the job or the weather sucks or can't pay my bills, whatever the situation might be, and just gotta do it. Just gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think this was a good discussion. As far as the Glock 17, Glock 22, at the end of the day, like whatever you're gonna pick, train, train. Like we still train. I know we like it's more like father son, bonding and stuff like that. But even then, there's still an aspect, still a training. Like